Welcome to the first episode of The Wood Toy Bloke. My name's Bruce Bailey, and in this channel you're going to find out all the joys of making wooden toys. Everything from the simple right through to the more complex, ones you'd probably call a model rather than a toy. But if you've ever made toys for kids, you know the immense satisfaction you get, both in the making process and the giving, and seeing the joy light up on their faces as they receive it. Now, some people are good at making plans, others are not. I'm in the not category. I source my plans from free to cheap to more expensive, depending on how I'm feeling and the challenge I want to take on. Today we're starting off with a beaut little truck from Ash's workshop, plan number 510. I'll put the link down below. Let's get on with it. We want a 19 by 19 strips for the chassis. So here I've taken a 19mm board. I use that as a spacer to line up the fence and then just flip it over. I'm going to cut the chassis on my table saw sled. If you do have a table saw but don't have a sled, I recommend them highly. They're great for accuracy and reproducibility. And I'll just set up the stop for 140mm. I'm cutting this piece to 32mm width. It'll do for the sides, the bottoms, the back, everything. Peter Ash's plans have excellent diagrams with all dimensions marked in both imperial and metric. So it's just a matter of following those and cutting all the pieces of wood to size, in this case on my table saw. Could equally well be done just with a hand saw, of course. Now that's all the main pieces cut, apart from the ends for the box on the back. It's time now to move on and do some more work on the chassis. Now, one good thing about Peter Ash's plan is it provides a template that you can just lay on the side of the chassis and identify where the axle holes need to go. Now, since I'm using 6mm dowel, I'm going to drill this out with a 7mm drill bit. And you can see here I'm putting it up against the fence I've got set up on my drill press, so that all I've got to do is move it along, and I know then that the holes drilled will be consistent for the base of the chassis. Now, time to start glue up. I use Titebond 2 because I know it's fairly resistant outdoors, and if the kitty takes the toy out, you don't want it to fall apart. The plan calls for 44mm ends to the box. The reason I leave it to last is that in case there's any variation or mistakes made in the base and the sides, I can put a dry fit and I can check it. Now, as it turns out, I'm very close. Now, for glue up, I'm using a spacer in the middle here just so the walls don't collapse in. And all I'm going to do is add a little bit of glue to all the relevant surfaces. Now, the glue's all on, so I just line it all up and using my cam clamp put a bit of light pressure on it. That won't need long, and even 5 minutes would probably just give it enough to tack, but I'd tend to leave it half an hour or so. And before assembling any more, it's a good idea to have a think about what needs to be sanded. You've got to remember here that wooden toys should have all sharp edges taken off them so that kiddies don't get injured. Now, sanding includes putting a round over on the end of the chassis where the tow hook goes. Just makes a nicer feature of it and takes off the sharp edge. Now, the most challenging part of a job like this are the wheels. You can go out and you can buy wheels like that just about any size you want, craft stores, woodwork supplies, online, whatever. But I prefer to make my own. And you can make simple little ones which look a bit like that. Just simply circle cut out with a hole in the middle. You can add a little bit by putting a fake sort of rim in the middle, and I'll show you how to do that. And regardless of what technique you look up on the internet or YouTube or whatever, a hole saw is the only way to go in my view. You can get this variety, which is a cheaper version and has a fixed drill bit in the middle, which you don't change, or you can get the more expensive drill bit where you can wind on hole saw bits.
Now the best thing for drilling out the rim in the middle is a spade bit. Mine is blunt, so I used a Forstner bit. We do that and come back with our hole saw. We drill the hole saw with right to the outside edge to allow the sawdust and heat to dissipate, and go about 2/3 the way through and then flip it over. This allows us to have a bit to grab hold of and take it out, and we're just left with a little bit of sanding to clean it up.
A dry fit of the wheel shows all's well, and now I just mark off the length that I want on the axles and I'll cut them down.
First thing to glue is a 3mm spacer out of just MDF on the back end, followed by, on the front end, we have the base of the cab, the engine block, then the box on the back, followed by the top of the cab itself with a little slope on the front, and then we move on to underneath the side. We've got the fuel tank on the other side, then we've got exhaust pipe, an air filter, one side then the other, and hey presto, we put the bumper on and it's done for now.
Now we call a halt to the glue up at this point in time, because it's much better before putting the wheels and axles on to put a finish if you're going to do it. You can't just leave it raw, but I do urge you, whatever finish you use, make sure it's child friendly and safe on toys. I'm going to use just some beeswax I made up. So there we have it, and it's a little ripper. In next week's episode, we'll be looking at making a trailer and a dolly to go on the back. Also, a prime mover or road tractor, depending on where you are, and doing some fun customising of the prime mover. There'll be a video published every weekend, so join me for it. Make comments down below. Give me your suggestions and ideas. I can learn as much from you as you from me. So hit the subscribe button, don't miss out. See ya.